fought in Lebanon. I said, what about going back to Palestine? She said, we're not allowed to go back to our home country. But even if we were, what would we be going back to? The same suffering, the same torment, the same abuse, the same oppression, the same injustice. This doesn't just affect the people in Palestine. There is a diaspora of Palestinians that are refugees in neighboring countries and outside of Palestine that are also suffering, also going through very, very testing times. Now, alhamdulillah, all praise to the Almighty. We are so blessed. We have safety, we have security, we have roofs over our head. We can send our children to the shop and not worry if they're gonna come back in a body bag. Palestinians don't have that luxury. Palestinians don't have that luxury, but still, on top of all of their misery and suffering, the word that is closest to their heart and the word that gets them through all of this is alhamdulillah. There's people worse off than us. So imagine you're living through one of the worst situations in the world, but you still say, thank God, there's other people worse off than us. When I was working in the Rohingya refugee camps in Bangladesh, a Palestinian organization based in Jerusalem sent me £2,000 and said the Rohingya need it more than us. Imagine, they don't have anything, but they're donating their money, they're collecting money and sending it to the Rohingya refugees. This is the spirit of Palestine, this is the spirit of resistance. And with all your support and by you guys coming out and continuing, Palestine will never die. Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry!
Palestine will never die!
Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry!
Palestine will never die!
Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry!
Palestine will never die!
Free, free!
Palestine!
Free, free!
Palestine!
Free, free!
Palestine!
Free, free!
Palestine!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
I'm going to pass the mic now because I've been hogging it for a while, and I'm sure we've got a long list of amazing speakers. Believe me, I'll be back. I'm not going anywhere. We're going to chant today. We're going to make noise. And we're here for Palestine.
Thank you so much. Here's Jeff from Palestine Solidarity Campaign.
Hello, welcome. Great to see everybody here. And you've already getting invoiced with the chant, which is even better. If you just hold on 1 minute, we will start. Right now, our first speaker is appropriately a Palestinian and chair of the Dar al-Isra Mosque, Dr. Munir Ashi. Oh, I'm sorry, it's a bit changed. Dr. Mahmoud Jazzy instead.
Hello there. Hello everybody. That's all right. Okay. Let's just remind ourselves why we are here. Look, we are a peaceful people. The Palestinian people are peaceful people. We have no issues with any religion. We respect every religion, including the Jews. This is not about Judaism. Yes. This is not about religion or race. In fact, some of the Jews are with us and supporting us, but their voices are not being heard.
That's right.
So, this is about oppression, which is against any religion, against humanity. This is why we are gathered. Number two, let me just also make it clear to everybody about the history of Palestine. The Jews came to Palestine 3,000 years from now. When they went to Palestine from Egypt, Palestine was inhabited. There were people there, which are the original people of Palestine, who still exist now. There is no historic justification for stealing the whole land, not even willing to share it with them. And thirdly, let's also go back to the cascade of events. The people, the peaceful people, they were praying in holy Ramadan in the mosque. They have not caused any sort of unrest or disorder to the city of Jerusalem. What happened exactly was that the Prime Minister of Israel, for a political gain, given the political crisis which he was going through, he had to send the settlers and the army to interrupt and harass and intimidate the prayers. This had provoked the response from the Palestinians in their peaceful demonstrations. So this is how it all started. And then it went on to the military confrontation, which is by no means is equal. The other issue is that those people who have been in that country for more than 3,000 years, before the Jews, some of them are in Sheikh Jarrah. These are the originals, the indigenous people. You know about the indigenous people in Australia? The indigenous people, the Indians in America? These are the indigenous people. But they are being denied any kind of rights. Sheikh Jarrah is an area which is where the Palestinians resides in it. The fact, by the way, the word Palestine is the name of the country of Palestine before the Jews came. This is why it's called Palestine. We were there before them. And they are not willing to share it even with the Palestinians. 75% of Palestine now is with the Jews. The remaining 20%, they are not even willing to give it to the Palestinians. This is about one nation colonizing the land of another nation. This is what the history should be. You know, things should be put. The other thing, Sheikh Jarrah, this is part of East Jerusalem. The jurisdiction of Israel, the army, the settlers, they have no right to be there in the first instance. Yet they are intimidating the people who have been living there for thousands of years. So what provoked the military confrontation started from a provocation, deliberate provocation of the Prime Minister for political gain. So now what we need to be sure about, that we should stand shoulder to shoulder with the Palestinian people who are being treated, even in the Israel, the group of the indigenous Palestinians who live there, they are being treated as a second degree in a system which is no less than apartheid system. This is the reality. But unfortunately, the mass media is portraying the situation in a different manner. And the Palestinians have been portrayed as being the aggressors at a time when they are actually the victimized and the oppressed, the victims. So thanks everybody for coming. We know what we are here for. We are here for the justice, for the oppression, for the removal of oppression and occupation. That is the bottom line. If there was no occupation, none of this would have happened. This is what the leaders, they should know. Unless they solve the issue of Palestine, the problem will continue.
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Thank you, my friends, for coming here today. Diolch yn fawr am fod yma heddiw. So, next speaker we have for you today is Chair of Cardiff Palestine Solidarity Campaign, Cadeirydd Ymgyrch Cyd-sefyll a Palestine Cardiff, Jackie Shalad. Diolch yn fawr. Shukran. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Right, everybody, I want to say first of all, thank you so much for coming. It's a great turnout and it is great to see you all here. Unfortunately, in these circumstances, and you know, I've lost count of the number of times I've stood here over the years standing up for Palestinian rights.
Yes.
And I'm sure loads of us here feel exactly the same.
Yes.
I know there is a group of people, the Red Choir, who have spent 35 years on a Tuesday outside the market trying to raise the issue of Palestine. And you know, today we're here because our thoughts are with those people who are suffering in Palestine, those people who are living under the fear of attacks,
yes,
and who have lost loved ones.
Yes.
But before today, the Palestine Solidarity Campaign had already decided that we were going to have a stall on this site. And we decided that because it's 73 years since the Nakba, 73 years today since 750,000 Palestinians were forced out of their homes and made refugees. And just to put it into perspective today, that means over 5 million Palestinians worldwide today, over 5 million. And most of them still not allowed to return. Now, you might think, well, 73 years, but you see, the Nakba is ongoing. It hasn't stopped. We have, in the last few weeks, seen in Sheikh Jarrah settlers trying to drive Palestinians out of their homes. Now, these people have lived in those homes since 1956. They did a deal with the United Nations, you know, so much for United Nations support. They did a deal with the United Nations and Jordan that they would own those houses. Now, hundreds are being evicted. And you see what happens? Well, we all know, we've had people saying this already. When Palestinians try to challenge this in the courts, Israel enacts its racist property laws to support the settlers. And we end up with Palestinians, and just imagine this, even having to pay the costs of those court cases. And I just want us all to think for a moment what we would feel like if someone came to us in Wales and said, oh, by the way, you've no rights to this house because sometime this happened and that happened, so I'm going to put someone in your house who's never lived there, and basically you just get lost. And how would we feel if that happened to us? And what we've seen this week, haven't we? When Palestinians try to defend themselves, what happens? They get attacked. They get attacked by the Israeli Defense Forces. They get attacked.
Israeli occupation force. It's not defense. What are they defending?
Yeah, okay, occupation forces. They use tear gas, they use rubber bullets, they use skunk water, they use steel bullets. And even people peacefully praying in the Al-Aqsa Mosque were attacked. And I think when we think about this and we think about what's happened on the news, we all should be very proud of ourselves to be here, and we have to keep doing it. Now, you see, Sheikh Jarrah isn't just an isolated incident. People are having their homes bulldozed in the West Bank and stolen by Israeli settlers, and other areas too, in East Jerusalem and in Gaza. We have seen a siege that has lasted for 15 years, and here we have the biggest open-air prison in the world. Right now, just to go quickly to how the world reacts, we have words, don't we? We have words from the UN, we have words from some international leaders, but we never have action.
Yes.
Palestinians live in a system where their houses can be demolished, their land stolen, where they're forced to travel on separate roads, where communities are separated by a war, where life is controlled by checkpoints, and where they're subjected to different laws and rights from the Jewish population and face constant threats of arrest. And this is apartheid. Let's be very clear. This is apartheid. Now, the media may only be interested when things escalate. And as we've seen over the past few weeks, we have totally biased reporting concentrating on reactions rather than the appalling injustice over the years that has caused this. There have been massive attempts that some of us here I know have been victims of over the past couple of years to silence us as well. We won't be silenced. This year, there have though been some hopeful things happening. The TUC, the Trade Union Conference, for the first time passed a resolution that mentioned apartheid and called it apartheid. There have been two very important reports, one by an Israeli human rights group, one by Human Rights Watch, yes, B'Tselem, and both of those in great detail tell us why it's apartheid. And fantastically, this morning I saw Italian dockers have refused to load a ship with arms being sent to Israel. So that is absolutely great.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Right, just to end, what do we do? The most important thing here, what do we do? You see, it's fantastic to see so many here today, but it also needs us to continue supporting when it's not on the news. It needs us to continue fighting when people aren't talking about it. So please, I'd ask all of you, stay active, raise the issues where you can. Come and join us. There are people going around with sheets, sign up for the PSC. There are many areas that we need to fight in. We need to be on the streets, but we also need to call on our government to stop arming Israel. We need to argue against investments. You know, I'm sure there are people here whose pension funds are invested in Israel. We need to say no to that, and to also councils investing in Israel. We need to also support the boycott divestment, BDS campaign. Really important. Has had some great successes with people refusing to perform in Israel, with boycotting various companies, etc., etc. We are building groups in Wales. Today, I know of 7 demonstrations this weekend over Wales. Please come and join us. We need to carry this on. We need your help.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Save Palestine! Save Gaza! Save Gaza! Save Gaza! Save Gaza! Save Gaza! Save Gaza!
Thank you. I hear that there are some problem with people not necessarily being able to hear at the back. We have this tight as high as it will go. In a moment, after the next speaker, I'll try raising it and see if that helps. But what's important for all the speakers is you need to hold the mic like this, right to your face. If you hold it down here, you can't hear. Hear the difference. Down here doesn't work. Up here.